Welcome to the Go Shout Love podcast. My name is Seth Carnell, and we have an exciting episode. Back in October of 2019, our team visited a few families in Pittsburgh. It was amazing to not only meet those families, but to see the strong community of Pittsburgh surround and shout love for them. Now, out of that meeting came a special bond and a mutual appreciation, which brings me to this episode. Today's conversation is with one of the moms of that visit, and excitingly, a new member of the Go Shout Love team. Julie Walls is Levi's mom and will be leading our charge of corporate and educational relationships. We are very happy and very blessed to have her with us. Welcome aboard, Julie. That being said, this episode is not just about Julie's being on the team, but embracing relationships and the work inside of the classroom. How administrators and educators are a resource to children and families like the ones we highlight. At Go Shout Love, we are not just trying to help by providing a t-shirt and apparel, but also providing a community, and to help each other grow and learn and create opportunities to shout love in more tangible, everyday ways. This episode also touches on the value of a new book, The Thin Skin Gang, which is an invitation for inclusion of children with all abilities. It is meant to plant a seed in the imagination of children and spark a healthy conversation in the family. It is a collaboration between Sweet Boy Books and Go Shout Love. Today's conversation is with Julie, obviously, one of our co-directors, Josh Veach, and the founder of Go Shout Love and current Community Relations Director, Kristin Estock. Please take a second to rate and review our podcast. Here is Josh to get us started.
Well, Julie, Kristin, welcome back to the Go Shout Love podcast. It's good to have you guys.
Excited to be here.
Yes, thanks for having me.
And so, starting off, Julie, you are a familiar voice, but people may recognize you as Levi's mom. And while you are still here in that capacity, you are also here in a new capacity. You, in January 1st, you officially joined the Go Shout Love team. And we are super excited to have you. And we're going to dive into a little bit more about how you have gotten into this role and what that role looks like here in just a little bit. But first of all, we just want to say welcome. We're super glad that you're here, and we're excited to have you on the team.
Well, thank you so much. I am honored to be here, and I'm really, really excited about it.
Yeah, well, we're excited to have you. And before we get into all of that, kind of your new role took root based out of what happened in October. So in October, we got to feature 4 amazing kids from the Pittsburgh area, including Levi, your son. And so before we get into that, Kristin, you'd called Pittsburgh home for a long time. And I was just curious, as like the brainchild, with Go Shout Love being your brainchild, what was it like to see the communities around Pittsburgh show up so big in October? What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was incredible. It was not surprising because I feel like Pittsburgh has a lot of heart and really embraces their people. So it was not surprising, but it was really exciting. And yeah, it was awesome to see how they embraced Levi and Julie and the other 3 families, and they really jumped in and got really involved. I would say the community involvement, I don't want to say surprising, but that part was just how much there was and how motivated everyone was just really uplifting. So yeah. I guess that's the best way to put it.
Yeah. And Julie, what about for you?
Yeah, I always tell the story of when I met the team in October. When I got in the car, I was so just energized by meeting the team. I love the mission and the passion you guys have for the kids and the families. And I just was so just energized by all of it. And our whole month was just an incredible experience as a parent, as a mom of a little one on a medical journey. It was very healing to tell our story, and it was empowering to do some good with our story, and it was just an amazing experience. And then, the connections that were made that month.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. And you mentioned after we started having some conversations about you joining the team, one of the things you mentioned, you had said something to Brandon as you were even leaving meeting us, and we didn't know this until after we started having these conversations of you joining the team. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So actually, the first thing I said to Brandon when I got in the car after the whole experience was, I want to work for them. And he was like, wow, of all the things, it wasn't, it was like, it was so contagious, just your passion for the mission. And everything I've been through with Levi has just changed me as a person and changed my heart, changed, what I want to do with my life's work. And I just felt like when I met all of the team and I was like, wow, like I need to be a part of this. Like, this is just such important work. And it was just really great to be around. And I just wanted to be more and more involved.
Yeah. We're going to come back to all that in just a second. We talked about, Kristin, you living in Pittsburgh as a past tense. And so for anyone who's listened for a long time and followed along, you have had a slight change in your life. And by slight, I mean pretty major.
Yeah.
And so just as an update to those who follow Go Shout Love and to any fellow Midwesterners that may be listening and might be closer to you now, you are not in Pittsburgh anymore.
No, I'm not.
Where are you?
A few weeks ago, we moved to Wichita, Kansas. So back in the Midwest.
Yes.
I'm from Kansas City, Missouri. So go Chiefs. So I'm back Midwest. So I'm going to have to get the Wichita spirit with Go Shout Love and stuff. So we're going to have to compete against Pittsburgh.
and we're sad in Pittsburgh.
But Pittsburgh just showed up so big. Going back to that, it's just like, it was definitely bittersweet walking away from Pittsburgh. So,
Julie, before you had Levi, you were in the classroom on a regular basis as a teacher. And I'm just curious, in what ways your experience as a teacher and then your experience of kind of walking this journey with Levi has shaped you into who you are today.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I was a teacher for many years. When I first got out of college, I went to Penn State. I taught in a Catholic school in the South Hills of Pittsburgh and got my start there. And while I was teaching first grade there, I went back for my master's, ironically, in special ed from Duquesne University. So I worked for first grade and got my master's in special ed. And I've just always had a heart for children. I come from a family of teachers. My both parents were in physical education, health teachers. My sister's a special education teacher in Pittsburgh Public Schools right now doing really hard, important work. My dad was a adjunct professor at Pitt at one point. So just come from a long line of teachers, and we all have a heart for kids. And after I got my master's, I did a year of teaching emotional support in Pittsburgh Public Schools, and that was really hard work. And then I ended up getting a job with Hampton Township teaching first grade, and that's where I taught for about 10 years. And just love the culture of schools, love the kids, love the parents, love my colleagues, the teachers, and the community of schools. And, I have a really special place in my heart for teaching first grade. It's just one of those grades where they come in, in all different places, but to see their growth from the beginning of the year to the end of the year is just amazing to see. And just love the innocence of kids. And of course they're fun and funny, make me laugh. So, what I've learned, my thing with Levi is always kids are kids no matter what. And that's something that I've learned through working with special ed and now just being a mom of a child with some disabilities and some medical needs and the friends we've made. And I've just learned that kids are kids no matter what. They might be facing some difficulties, but, we're all alike more than we're different, and that kind of thing. So,
you guys, when we were featuring the families in October, you guys put together some really cool things, and you leveraged just kind of the momentum of the month, but also your experience in the classroom and your relationships from some of the local schools to really do some cool stuff with the schools during the month. And so I wondered if you guys could just kind of share what that looked like, what you did, and kind of what you experienced in that process.
Right. So yeah, my connections in schools were very natural because these were my colleagues and became dear friends, which ironically, they walked through my pregnancy with Levi from the beginning. So they knew me as a teacher, a professional, but also as a friend and also as a mom going through a prenatal diagnosis. But our school counselor, Melissa Maley, and first grade teacher, Courtney Garrett, we all kind of, with Kristin, worked together. And I went into a couple classrooms, my son Noah's first grade classroom, and just did a lesson about Levi and what spina bifida is, and talked about his mobility and showed the class his braces and his walker and his little wheels. And we talked about inclusion and just, some concrete examples of how to include kids on the playground that might get around a little different from you and things like that. And that was great. I really enjoyed going in and talking with the kids. But then I thought the even cooler step came from that is then our kind of service project that we launched to help Children's Hospital of Pittsburgh, where we made up a list of different toiletry items and things, like making little care packages for the families for the hospital. So not only was there an awareness piece, but then the second piece of doing some good and giving back, because we've been the family in the hospital room many, many times. And it's those tiny little things that are like a ray of sunshine when you're going through something very scary and stressful. The littlest thing, someone offering you a cup of coffee or bringing in a little bag, can make a huge, huge difference in that experience. So I was happy to be on the other side of things, sort of giving back a little bit.
Yeah. And if I understand correctly, you engaged for that process, you engaged the entire school. Is that right?
Right. So each grade level had something to bring in. Like, for example, first grade brought in little deodorants, and kindergarten may have brought in chapstick. And then we all got together, and the kids actually assembled the bags. So we made a big assembly line, and the first grade class at POF assembled the bags. And then through Melissa Maley has a kids care club at Central, and it's an after school club, and they did the same thing. They assembled the bags and we put them together, and they drew little pictures. And I think it was a great lesson for the kids to show that, they can reach out and be that sunshine for someone going through a hard time.
Yeah. Kristin, what was that like to see those kids and to see the school district engage in the process in this way? Because it's something that's a newer element to us. It's not something that we had focused on really before that month.
Right. Yeah. And it's something I think we've always wanted to focus on. And this kind of had the opportunity. We had kids who had siblings who were school aged, and so could maybe get involved on more of a personal level. And so, I would just say from like the beginning conversation I had with Melissa, the guidance counselor, just was incredible, because she was like, what can we do? How can we help? Can you have info to me like right now? Because I want to send it out to all the schools and all the parents and they were just on it. So, and they just wanted to jump in. They wanted the kids to be involved. They wanted to be involved. Like when we went to the school to put together some of the care packages, several of the teachers were wearing the shirts. It's just, everyone was really into it. And they sent out school on the newsletter, on the website, all the information about it, about Levi, about the other families and what people can do. And they just wanted to jump in. They were just ready. And that's kind of circles back to why I feel like Go Shout Love even started in the first place. Is a lot of times we all want to jump in and help them. We don't really know how. And with Go Shout Love, we're kind of creating a space where this is how you can jump in. This is what you can do without feeling awkward and feeling like, well, I don't really know what to do. I don't know how to reach out. And this just created an opportunity to reach out, bring in an item, or buy a t-shirt, or talk to the family, learn more, become educated on more. And so, yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, it's really cool. I only got to see some of the pictures and videos, and even that was just really cool to see. And it goes beyond shirts, because we're kind of we're sparking these moments of opportunity in these classrooms for kids to see what it looks like to be a good neighbor, to be a good friend, to be a good coworker, to share life with people. And, like you were talking, Julie, about, seeing a kid on the playground that gets around a little bit differently than I might, that there's lessons to be learned there. And so it's really cool that you guys were able to do that. And then because of a generous donation, those packages were able to be gifted with T-shirts from the month to the local hospital, like you mentioned, Julie, the families in the NICU. And how many total packages were you guys able to deliver?
I think it was over 200. I think it was about 200.
Counted the final out, but it was over 200. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
there was like just in my car and Julie's truck.
Right. Yes.
Bags and it was so many. It was incredible.
Yeah. The families of our community are so generous. Like it was overwhelming. I mean, the donations just came pouring in. I mean, boxes and boxes and boxes. And like Kristin said, even going through what we've gone through with Levi, being on the receiving end of support, people always want to say, like, we want to do something to help, or, we're here if you need anything, or let us know if you need help. But this gives like a tangible, practical way to help and show support. And I think people are waiting and willing and wanting to do that. So it was a great experience for all.
Yeah. Kristin, I think your mom got to be one of the people to help deliver. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so your mom she's been a huge supporter of you since the early days of Go Shout Love, but even now she's a really generous supporter of Go Shout Love, and including letting the whole team stay at her house while we were there meeting the Pittsburgh families. And so it was good to get to meet her. I'm curious, what was that experience like for her? Did she talk about it, or did you kind of learn anything in that process?
She loved it. My mom loves to be involved, and especially if like Pittsburgh's attached to it, like she's all in. Like she is Pittsburgher, and then she's going to step up. I mean, she'll step up for anyone, but adding the Pittsburgh piece to it just makes a world of difference. Right? Yeah. So she was so excited, so excited to be. She's always been a supporter, but she got to really jump in and be involved a little bit more. So yeah, giving her, and Julie's mom came to the bags, and so like having other people jump in,
and our kids, and Levi was there, and new kids were there, and it was a group affair. It was nice.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
People together. My kids got to meet Levi, and they still talk about Levi. So
that's awesome.
That's so sweet.
I have, in my experience of just kind of being around the church world I've been a huge believer that nothing builds relationships naturally like serving next to one another. Like you can try to form community in all of these fabricated or formulaic ways, but I really don't think there's anything that better forms organic relationships and community than simply rolling up your sleeves to accomplish, the goal together, like having a shared purpose and a shared drive. And so it's really cool that this has kind of been that was an opportunity for October. And it brought to the forefront something that, like you said, Kristin, we've been thinking about for a long time on the Go Shout Love side of things, that, there's really been two kind of big opportunities that we had identified, but hadn't really taken steps to grow into. And both specifically, those are being better at engaging the educational space, not just from a sales standpoint, because as the husband of a third grade teacher, I know teachers are all about graphic tees, but also just as a positive resource for teachers and counselors and administrators, to put together resources that can go into the classroom and encourage kindness and empathy and all the things that we value as an organization. And then the the second piece of that is engaging individuals and businesses who want to support what we're doing, that they believe in what we're doing. And so that's kind of how Julie's role came about. And so you stepped into that role January 1, and you are kind of our primary point person for corporate and education relationships. And really what that means is putting together resources and helping us build relationships in the educational space, and then also engaging sponsors, those businesses and individuals and organizations that would want to align with us to help kind of offset some of our operational costs so that we can grow to the point where we're giving even a larger percentage of our profits to families. And so kind of piggybacking off of what you guys did with the Pittsburgh schools, Julie, you've put together a resource for classrooms that can be used by, specifically it was put in mind to be used for families that are being featured, that they can kind of use in the classroom in their communities, but really it could be used by anybody. Tell us a little bit about that resource and what's included in that.
Right. So I was really, really excited to do this. The activities are based on the book, The Thin Skin Gang, and which we have on the website. And it's an amazing book. I love this book, and I think all teachers and moms and dads would love this book for their kids. It's such a great story, and I think that it can be applied to so many different scenarios and people. And, and I listened to the podcast with the author and illustrator, which was great. And they talked about, so many times people in the world are taught to have this thick skin and not to be lost about having, thin skin in a way of being gentle and kind and accepting and including people of all abilities, and the fact that we all have thin skin in some way. And one of my favorite parts about this book is the idea of being creative and flexible to include everyone, and that it's okay to change the rules or change the way you play a game to include everybody, and that's okay. And it's to teaching kids to be creative and to be flexible, because it's more fun when everyone's included and when everyone can play together. So the activities I created are based as a takeoff from the book. So basically, anyone could get this book, read it in the classroom, and then I have come up with some discussion questions, and then there's 3 different activities. So the activities can be based on the grade level that you're working with, or if you're a teacher listening, you know all about differentiated instruction. So even in the same classroom, if you have varying abilities within that same classroom, there's an activity that would be really simple for a preschool class or a kindergarten class where they're just drawing a picture for the Go Shout Love, the child that's being featured, and showing love and kindness, stapling into a book and handing it to the child. We hope that, it just teaches about inclusion and empathy and including others, and that, and I just really like that piece about being creative and flexible to changing the rules to include everyone.
Yeah. Kristin, you have 2 kids at home, and you are, in addition to a mom, you are a teacher. And I'm just curious, from your perspective as mom and teacher, how do you go about teaching some of these lessons, and how do you see resources like this being helpful in applying some of those life lessons that we're trying to teach in the home and in the classroom?
Yes, I am so excited about this new resource, because so when we get our shirts, we get the info card with the information about the child we're featuring that month, information about their diagnosis or diagnoses. And so I try to use that every month with my kids. We try to kind of make it like a lesson. It's just kind of part of our monthly flow with doing school at home with them. And we talk about the child that is being featured. We talk about their diagnosis, how that different part of their body works differently from theirs, or et cetera, et cetera. And like Julie's saying, how a kid is still a kid. Kids are all just kids. So being able to add this in is really exciting. Be able to use we have the Thin Skin gang, being able to use that along with the other information that we're using I'm just excited. I've already been thinking about how to present this to like a homeschool group or bring other kids in for this, because this is such an important piece. Like, I think a lot of parents do a really good job at sitting down and trying to talk with their children, educate their children. But I do think that sometimes the old school narrative still exists of like, just mind your business and ignore, like if you're out in public, like maybe don't approach it, don't ask questions, just look ahead, check out, don't, and kids have questions, like if they see a child who's different from them. And I think a lot of these resources are going to help. Yeah, I'm stoked.
I think what's so great about this resource and resources like these, because obviously we're far from the only people, trying to engage people in this conversation. There are a lot of great organizations that are, really advocating for families and kids in these situations, and really trying to, shift some of the narrative around kids with medical complexities, and so we're obviously not the only people doing that. But what I think is so valuable about these resources is that it challenges us to take on the ways that are life-changing to those who receive what we can by shifting who we are and how we function to accommodate and make space and honor the value that these kids have. It's world-changing for them, but it's really practical for those that are not in that space. That we're not talking like these major shifts in life and how you live. It's just this really practical things and being intentional about those things. And they only happen when we are intentional and we help our kids learn those things, and we challenge ourselves to continue to learn those lessons. And so I think that's what's really cool about the Thin Skin Gang book, and then to build up resources off of that. I think it's really, really valuable for every home, every classroom, every homeschool group. This would even be great in a Sunday school class or some sort of church group, because the lessons here are really, they're boiled down to the value of a human. What do we believe the value of a human to be, and how is that value defined? And if, regardless of your views on faith, the value of people is not, we can agree it's not based on what they can physically do. And that's where I think some of that old school thinking we've gotten wrong, and we have the opportunity to shift in the generations to come and currently, is to challenge ourselves to rethink that and to force ourselves into difficult lessons that we need to learn or unlearn and learn something new, a new way of doing things. That, like in the book, they changed the rules a little bit because they realized that the game is not as valuable, it's not as fun when Ben and Bernice aren't able to play. And so everyone's missing out, including Ben and Bernice, when Ben and Bernice are not able to play. And so these lessons that are in the book and in other resources like this, I really believe in them, and I'm challenged by them. And so, Julie, this resource that you've put together is awesome. I'm excited to get it into the hands of teachers. I'm excited for my wife to use it in her classroom and help it grow in their school. And so if you had, just as a last piece of advice from a teacher mom, how would you challenge somebody who's hearing this to take advantage of this resource?
Yeah, I would just say I would really recommend getting the book, bringing it home to your family, reading it with them, downloading the activities, and even talking over dinner, or you have kids different ages, try out the different activities, and just start the discussion, just open the dialogue. Like you said, it's just a change in perspective. But I think the activities can give some practical suggestions of things like, if you see someone on the playground that's playing by themselves, go over and say hi. Trying to teach empathy in a practical way, think about how someone else might be feeling. Or, I love what you said just about the value of people. It's not what we can do, but it's, who we are, and just to value people for who they are, exactly how they are at this moment. I tell my kids, you're amazing just the way you are. And just encourage just the open dialogue. And then if you're a teacher, the website, you can grab the book and grab the resources. And I know in many schools they have weekly classroom meetings or a morning meeting, or some people who are doing bullying prevention programs have a weekly class meeting. This would be a great thing for your bullying prevention lesson, your class meeting, to grab the book and start the discussion. Challenge the kids on the playground. Who can you look for today that looks like they're, kind of off on the outskirts playing by themselves? Can you include them in things like that? So I hope teachers and parents like it, and I hope it opens the discussion.
Yeah, awesome. Kristin, any last thoughts?
Yeah, I want to say, though, if people are using it, tag us and hashtag or tag us. I want to see people doing the activities. We'll start probably pretty quickly doing the activities, and we'll post them. So I would love to see what people do.
Yes. So tag us at Go Shout Love or use the hashtag Go Shout Love. And that book is available. The Thin Skin Gang is available in paperback and hardback on our website, and as well as the downloadable PDF, which is a free resource. You will check that out. Both of those are on the site, and so those are actually put together in one easy place for you to find. That's goshout.love/classroom. Will take you to where you can purchase the book, and if you already have the book and you just need the resource, you can get that there. And so we encourage you to take a minute and go get those resources, and then get intentional about how you engage with your family, how you help other people engage, whether it's in the classroom, a homeschool group, or a church environment. Whatever the case is, it doesn't take a big deal. It doesn't take a big choice. It's just a daily consistency in the little choices to help advocate for people, and to be intentional about growing personally and helping invite others into that growth as well. So take advantage of the book that is available on the website, as well as this awesome resource that Julie has put together. And before we wrap up, Julie, the other half of your role is engaging with businesses and organizations that want to support us. And we just finalized a sponsorship guide that I think is really great. I'm really hoping we get some traction with that. And so if you are a business, or you know of a business that the values that we as a brand, we as an organization put out there regularly in shouting love for these kids, it's something that resonates with you, and you're interested in kind of helping support our cause, we have some really cool sponsorship opportunities that include sponsoring the podcast. It includes, there are options that you can help sponsor our monthly video that gets a lot of views on social media, and other ways that it can be beneficial to your brand, and then also to help us as an organization as well. And so, Julie, any thoughts on what you would say to any businesses that might be thinking about something like that?
Yeah, I think that just being on the receiving end, being one of the featured families, it has just been really life-changing for us. It has been so supportive and so empowering and so healing, and the way that the stories of the families and kids are presented just so beautifully, and it's just a wonderful experience. And to be able to support kids and families, we would love to partner with you. I can't tell you how much it meant to us as a family, and to be able to do that for other kids and other families, it really makes a huge difference in the everyday lives of the kids. And you would make a wonderful difference just shouting love for these amazing kids, just in these families, showing them that we love them and support them.
Awesome. All right, well, you have two really great calls to action here, folks. You can get these awesome resources, and you can bug a business that you know and love and say, hey, here's a great organization that you can support. So take those opportunities, and we will talk to you soon.
As always, thank you for listening. I hope you took something away from it, some very important topics and words from Josh, Julie, and Kristin, and one that each of us on the Go Shout Love team believe in. As Josh mentioned, if you are interested in the Thin Skin Gang, it is for sale on our website, goshout.love. If you are also interested in starting a subscription and shouting love every month, please use the discount code podcast at checkout to get $5 off your first month. And then, go shout love.